I'm here in Colorado, way up in the Rocky Mountains at Joel's house, and it's full of amazing smart home tech that I didn't even know was possible before visiting. Not only that, but everything is extremely reliable, possibly the most rock-solid smart home I've ever seen. That's because Joel had an unfortunate event happen, but there was a silver lining.
A harrowing day in Boulder County with 2 significant fires, fueled by dry conditions and very high winds.
Yeah, so about 4 years ago, the Marshall Fire burned about 1,000 homes in our area, including ours, and every house in our neighborhood.
More than 1,000 homes were destroyed and 2 people died, many people still rebuilding.
And kind of a silver lining was that I had always wanted my dad, who is an architect, to build me a house. And we spent about a year designing it and built a lot of things kind of from scratch to be smart home capable.
I get asked all the time if I were starting over on my smart home or if you were building a new home, what you should focus on. Well, Joel has done that here at his house. So there's lots of great tips that I can't wait to show you. So let's go check it out.
So I think this is maybe the most unique part of our smart home. This is a piece of software I've been working on for about a decade now that I call Timeframe, and it runs on a system of e-paper displays throughout our house. So this one is a 25-inch 4K e-paper display from Books. It displays what's effectively a web page driven by a Mac Mini, and the application combines data from Home Assistant, and it also has data directly from Apple Weather, and it really unobtrusively displays critical information that we find relevant. So if any part of our smart home is unhealthy, this is a big way that we've made the smart home so reliable, is it will actually tell us if a device is unavailable or if an automation has failed. There are hundreds of smart devices in this house. It would be really overwhelming to have a dashboard that had even a tenth of them. It will just show us the state of a device if it needs attention. So we have a young toddler and we should know when our doors are unlocked. So for example, it now shows us that the front and alley doors are unlocked. And right now it's actually telling me that I need to refill the dog's water bowl.
I am a huge fan of how this looks. The e-paper just blends into the house. You don't have that bright screen. And these displays are actually throughout the entire house. And there's some really cool smart home tech that's gonna blow your mind that can be displayed on the screen that I'll show you in a minute.
Unlike most e-paper displays, it can do real-time information. So typically you're probably used to a Kindle like kind of almost like flashing when you update, say changing a page or something like that. This one can actually display moving text and sometimes video. So it's technically a computer monitor. For other screens in the house, we have more traditional e-paper displays from a company called VisionEct. Those are thin clients and they load this and display this web page about every 10 minutes, which means that they can't display real-time information. So one nice side effect of having all this information on the screens is that we don't necessarily need to have our phones on us. Because of that, we put in these charging drawers that hide our devices out of sight. One important thing with doing a charging drawer is that you use a thermally protected system. This has a temperature sensor, so if for some reason a device overheats, it will automatically turn off the outlet. That's really important for fire safety.
So a fun way to listen to music here in Joel's house, he has these RFID cards with different artists, and you can just grab one, tap it against the RFID reader, and it'll automatically start playing music throughout the house on the Sonos speakers and show what music is playing here on the display.
So these cards are, believe it or not, inkjet printable. So there's a company that makes an adapter for inkjet printers that are meant to print on CDs, but you can put blank printable RFID cards in instead. So the automation this runs is it's a tag and a Home Assistant. So when you scan the tag, it pairs a couple of our Sonos zones in the ceiling and sets the volume to be the same, and then sends a Spotify playlist to that grouped zone. So one of the key design constraints we had for the smart home was that everything needed manual local control. One of the ways we did that for a lot of the devices that didn't have a good local control option, like Sonos, is we programmed Pico remotes. So inside here, we have a Sonos controller that uses the Pico audio remote that allows us to play and pause the current music, change the volume, skip to the next track. And then this center button will regroup the speakers, which anyone who uses Sonos knows is that's a nice shortcut to have.
So here in the kids' room, Joel has a really awesome automation that makes it so easy to put the kids down for nap time. All he has to do is close the door. Now, the sound machine turns on, the lights turn off, and the shades are closing here behind me. And look how dark it's getting. Yeah, I think I need this for myself. That's right. As my kids get older, I'm the one who needs the naps. But the automations don't stop there. Joel also has some really creative ideas in their home gym too.
One problem we had to solve when we were designing the gym is that the Peloton devices have audio. They play music when you do a class, and same with when you do one on the Apple TV. And we were going to use like a traditional, audio video receiver, but then you'd have to switch the inputs, which was going to be really annoying. So instead, we put Bluetooth receivers in the server rack and tied in all of them together into a mixer that allows us to just set the correct volume for every device, so that when you come in here and turn on the bike to do a class, it's at the perfect volume.
I love how seamless this is. You don't have to use any buttons or anything. All you have to do is start riding the Peloton device and the automations run. There's also some really fun RGB light strips in here that are mudded into the ceiling, so they sit nice and flush. They look great, and they're just a lot of fun.
So my wife and I like to do yoga or strength training together, but we need to keep an eye on the baby. So we use our Ubiquiti camera system fed through Scripted and Home Assistant into HomeKit, which allows us to have it in picture-in-picture on the Apple TV while we work out. And of course, the smart bassinet is also integrated with Home Assistant. So when we turn it on, it automatically enables the camera to record.
Smart bassinet connected to Home Assistant? All right, maybe I want to have another baby now. All right, if you're my kids or any kids watching right now, turn it off. Seriously, stop watching. All right, now that they've stopped watching, good thing, because if they saw what was behind this door, you would have a massive project on your hands. Welcome to the Kid Cave. You come in here underneath the stairs. There's a hardwired contact switch that just turns on this light when you open up the door. But check this out when you close it. So in here we have a massive light bright board. Joel built this entire thing. There's smart light strips powering it with a Zigbee motion sensor that turns it on when any kids come in here. And it looks incredible. My kids would love this. Actually, I love this a lot too. I'd probably be in here playing with it as much as the kids would. This is why Joel's smart home is so great. There's fun tech and clever ideas. So Joel came up with a really creative solution. Their dog drinks a lot of water, and they want to be notified if the dog water bowl is empty. So Joel is using an Aqara water leak sensor, and he tied some wires to it to go into the dog's water bowl, and he's using it the opposite way that you would use a normal water leak sensor, because if the water leak sensor is dry, then he gets alerted. And the Aqara water leak sensor is actually a really good use case for this, because most of them have an alarm that will beep when there's water detected, but it would be going off all the time if there's water in the bowl. So it's actually a benefit that the Aqara sensor doesn't have a siren. And speaking of Aqara is sponsoring this smart home tour series. Traveling for these is expensive, so I appreciate Aqara sponsoring this. And Joel is actually using Aqara devices all throughout his house. A lot of contact sensors on doors. And there's one right here on this door to the server rack. And I really like the Aqara contact sensors because they're so small and the battery life is very good, which you wouldn't think for how small these sensors are. And when you open up this server rack door, the contact sensor triggers automation that turns on the Aqara T1 light strips here in the server rack. The Aqara T1 light strips use Zigbee, so they're extremely reliable. They look really good. They have warm and cool whites and great RGB colors. I'm using them on my server rack. And Aqara has lots of unique smart home devices, and they're also very reliable because many of them use Zigbee. So I'll have those linked down in the description. And thanks to Aqara for supporting the channel.
So down here in the utility room, we have our server rack with a full Ubiquiti setup. One of the cool things about the Ubiquiti setup is that you can have 2 internet connections. So the first one on top, we have a fiber line that runs right here. And then as a backup, we have a 5G modem. And originally I had it installed here right on top of the rack, but it got really bad reception because we're here down in the basement. So what I did is I installed it in my office upstairs and then used PoE from the rack to power the modem and bring the data back to the rack. What's really great about that is that we have our backup power for the rack, which now provides backup power for the modem upstairs without having to have a separate backup power supply. More generally, when we were wiring the house, we ran, I think it's almost 100 Ethernet drops everywhere we could. Corners of the house, couple for each room, and there are pairs of Cat 6a.
And that's what makes this smart home so reliable. There's Ethernet running throughout the entire house, and you don't have to worry about wireless signals. Like, I have some Ethernet running through my house, but if I had 100 drops going everywhere, oh man, that would be so much better. So if I had to start over, this is definitely something that I would do. It makes things way more rock solid. And the reliability doesn't stop there. Joel's smart shades are also very thought out.
While we were framing the house, we had low voltage lines run to every single window. And we use these Hunter Douglas power supplies that run all the power for every shade to a central location. Yeah, so I think we have maybe 45 shades in the house, and they all thankfully run back to this one bank of power supplies that keeps them powered without any need for batteries. We wanted to have top-down, bottom-up shades, which is where you can control both the bottom rail and the top rail of the shades to cover like the bottom half of a window. Our bedrooms have these shades where there's a light filtering version like what you see here, and then there's a blackout behind it, so we can choose between the two.
And Joel has dialed in all these shades around the house so perfectly. Depending on where the sun is in the sky, like the angle of it, the window shades will open or close. That way direct sunlight isn't like beating down on the countertops. And as I've been walking around, they've been slowly adjusting. It is incredible. It's so fun to see. I am extremely jealous of all these window shades, that they're powered, they're reliable, and how versatile they are.
Plenty of people have asked me whether it was worth it to do this kind of intense of a shade setup. And what I tell them is that it's actually one of my favorite features of the smart home. Once you can automate your shades and not have to control them manually, you actually just use them a lot more. If you could always have every shade in your house be exactly where you'd want it to be, wouldn't that be awesome? And it really has proven to be true. Like, anytime I walk in a room, the shades are already where I want them to be.
I keep getting more jealous of Joel's setup as the tour goes on, and just wait till you see his smart lighting.
So when we were picking lighting controls for the house, we kind of had two criteria. One is we wanted it to be rock solid, reliable, and the other is that we wanted it to be grandma proof, and that anyone who was in our house could control the lights without having to know anything about the house. That led us, I think, pretty obviously to a Lutron system. We used a combination of RA3 and Caseta. We picked RA3 for our wall dimmers because they have this really great interaction where you can touch to dim the level, and this level will change when you do an automation. So it always stays in sync, which is something even the newest Caseta dimmers won't do.
So I've never used these RA3 switches from Lutron before, but I am blown away by the sensitivity. You can just press anywhere along the side and it just jumps straight to that brightness, and you can move up and down. It's so responsive, like way more than I thought it was going to be. I'm blown away.
We're able to use Home Assistant to bridge the Caseta and RA3 systems together, so we can have automations that use devices from both sides and together do cool things like having a light come on at a different brightness based on motion at a certain time of day, or based on, say, the brightness of the sky outside.
So Joel's not using any smart bulbs in the house, just using smart dimmers. That way they stay very reliable, plus easy to use since anybody can use a switch on the wall. But he still wants the benefits of light changing colors. So he has these bulbs in the ceiling that are dim to warm. When they're full brightness, they're a little bit cooler. And as you dim the lights, they get warmer. So you get the best of both worlds. And I've been wanting to add these types of lights to my own house because I don't really want smart light bulbs all over my ceiling, but I do want them a little bit warmer at night. So this is a perfect solution. Joel also built step lights into his stairwells to see better. These and all the other light colors match perfectly, and he even strategically placed accent lighting to light up pictures and the dashboard, which looks incredible. So we're outside of the house and there's some really cool things that you have to see. Starting here with the gate, Joel did something that I did not think was possible.
Our winters get really cold here, which means that we really can't use battery-powered devices outside. And that includes contact sensors. So for this gate, I found a long-range contact sensor that was meant for vehicle gates. And I wired it using our existing landscaping wiring. And that allowed me to have an ESP32 device inside where I could plug it into power where it wasn't cold and give me really reliable performance for the sensor.
This is such a creative solution, and this next automation combines technology and nature.
So my wife and I are really big birders, and we wanted to see what birds were coming to our bird bath because some of them get scared away really easily if you get too close. So we installed an ubiquity camera here pointed at the bird bath, and it records motion events that we can see later to review all the different species that came to our house. It's mounted on this pole with a PoE cable. I was really happy that I ran so many lines because we ended up having to dig this under the gravel here and under our walkway and tie it up to one that we ran under our deck. But it just so happened because we ran pairs of them everywhere in the house that we had the line that we needed.
This is so much fun to see the birds coming to your house, and we have a camera in our bird feeder that our kids absolutely love. But Joel took this camera setup with the birds way up a notch.
So another cool thing we've done with our cameras is we've fed them into a neural network called BirdNet. And what it does is it takes an audio feed and tells you what bird is making a sound in that audio feed. We, in this case, feed in a couple of ubiquity cameras, including the one at the bird bath, and it sends these taggings to the bird weather API that we then use to display the bird that was tagged the least in the last 24 hours on the displays, which basically tells us like what was the coolest bird or most unusual bird that has come across our property in the past day.
That is so smart that Joel's using the microphones on the cameras to identify the birds. I never would have thought that was possible. But what about the birds' privacy? Using microphones to listen in on the birds? Just kidding. Since Joel designed every square inch of this house, he was able to add another layer of specialty lighting that you wouldn't normally think about, but adds a lot. Like up here, he has hue bulbs and outdoor casings lighting up the second story. The wiring runs through the gutters and it looks amazing. All right, that about does it. Thanks, Joel, for letting me tour your smart home. The reliability is off the charts and you have so many cool, fun smart devices around your house.
Well, thanks for stopping by. It was really cool to share it with you.
Yeah, and thanks for watching.